What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Silicon Tech. Now, earlier this week was WWDC 2022, and this was a very anticipated conference going back from last year. Now, last year with iPadOS, a lot of people were very disappointed on the features that were released with iPadOS 15 because a couple of months before, the first M1 enabled iPad was released. So people had their hopes up of what they were going to get on the software side to utilize that new chip in the iPad. But we'll talk about later if Apple fulfilled those expectations with iPad OS 16. Now, I want to talk about iOS 16, macOS Ventura, and iPad OS 16 in this video. They did have an update to watchOS, but I don't really utilize that as much because I have an older Apple Watch. But anyway, on to iOS 16. Now, with this new operating system for the iPhone, I think users will be able to be a lot more creative in terms of how they style their iPhone. So you may ask, why would that be the case? Because the biggest addition to iPadOS 16 is the lock screen. You have a lot more freedom to customize and be creative with your lock screen. So of course you can always have a wallpaper with your lock screen, but now you can have a lot more freedom with in terms of the font for the data on the lock screen. So that means the time, the date, and things that are typically found on the lock screen already. But they are also adding additions to the lock screen with widgets. So you can now add widgets to the lock screen. So of course, a lot of the widgets that people use within the app screen, like the fitness widget, the weather widget, will be on that lock screen. So you'll have the ability to see the data there. And another thing that Apple is adding is live activities to the lock screen. So they showed off a couple of examples. So you want to think of like sports. So if you're watching a game is going on, from your lock screen, you can see the real live sports scores, and they're going to be updating live, so pretty regularly. And also with ride share. So for example, they showed off like a Uber. So normally you would have to go in the Uber or Lyft app to see like the progress of your driver when you're looking at a pickup, but from the lock screen you'll also be able to see that now, and I think that's very convenient to be able to kind of go in and out of that from the lock screen and not have to deal with the app. Now, with most features that Apple released, they released the kits to developers, so more developers in the future should have the ability to be able to utilize these features that I just mentioned. Now, some other changes that are coming to iOS, and probably one of the most talked about changes from iOS just to the casual common tech user, is the changes to messages. So now you'll have the ability to both edit messages and remove messages. Now you get a 15-minute window to make your edits and to remove. So we've all been there. You send a message that maybe had a lot of typos that we're embarrassed about, or we've reread a message and it just seems confusing when we reread it. So you want to make those edits, and now you have the ability to do that. And when you maybe send a wrong message to somebody, or you just want to take a message back for whatever reason, you have those 15 minutes to remove that. Now, it will tell on you, it will give the other user a notification and that that message has been edited or has been removed. But if they didn't really see it, you're still good, or at least minimal damage would be done. So a lot of people are excited about that, or just thinking about ways that they can use those features. And then staying with messages, you also have the ability to embed messages with SharePlay. Now, Apple introduced SharePlay last year, and it's a very good feature. Over FaceTime, you're able to watch movies and listen to music with people. And now you have the ability to do that just with messages. So if you don't want to go with the full-fledged audio and video component of FaceTime, you can just simply watch a movie and put your comments on it in messages. So I think that's really neat because, not all the time you just want to fully, be on camera with someone. So that's the big updates to iOS 16, and now we're gonna come to macOS with macOS Ventura. So this is the new version of macOS, and the highlight of it is Stage Manager. Now, I've been having a Mac for a couple of months now, and I'm very disorganized with it, so I have to be honest. Folders everywhere, windows everywhere, like everything is just going all over the place. So I think a feature like this was specifically made for people like me and having a Stage Manager. So you're able to see to the left of you kind of like a dock of all the windows and apps that you have running, and you still have the multitasking or multi-window feature within the center of the Stage Manager. So you're still able to move everything around, but you're quickly able to pull other windows in or out from the dock. So just me personally, that'll add a lot of organization to me utilizing the Mac and just different things like with my workflow. So that was the highlight of macOS, at least to me. And they showed off some other things too. So going back to the search features, Spotlight has some better features, so they made some improvements there. And they have the passkeys. Now, Apple is trying to get rid of the password as we see it and give passkeys that are on device. So they gave some examples of how you can utilize passkeys, not only on the Mac, but on your iPhone, and be able to take that around to unlock or get into systems with even non-macOS or non-Apple devices. So I thought that was really cool. So I think they're trying to set a standard for these passkeys, which should be very welcome. Now, the weirdest feature with macOS was Apple is now giving you the ability to use your iPhone as a webcam with your Mac. So when they first showed it, it really caught me by surprise. Apple has been notorious for having subpar, or what consumers find as subpar webcams in their MacBooks. And I think they've been kind of turning a corner with this, because on the recently released MacBook Pros, the webcams are better. So they're 1080p webcams. The quality is good. I use mine for FaceTime all the time. So that's my preferred method of FaceTime now, is with my MacBook. But hey, I mean, technically you have a better option if you have one of the newer iPhones to be able to utilize all 2 or 3 of those cameras for FaceTime or any other web conferencing app with that. Now, to get off of the software, this is where I won't say disappointed, but kind of disappointed, because I made a guess on my last rumor reaction video that Apple was going to release the last M1 variant at this WWDC, and they did not. I wasn't expecting them to announce or release the Mac Pro, but I at least thought we were going to get the chip that was going to go in it. That didn't happen, but what we did get was the reveal of the new M2 chip. And of course, they compared it to the M1, they compared it to some other chips in Windows machines, and it's gonna be a good improvement. Probably not as much of an improvement as people were expecting for M2, but still an improvement nonetheless. So you can't release a new chip without new hardware, and they also did just that. They introduced the all new MacBook Air. So redesigned a lot of that design language from the recently redesigned MacBook Pros. It has MagSafe. The screen is slightly larger with a 13.6-inch screen. It has the notch, and it has two new colors with Starlight and Midnight. And I think with Midnight, that's the closest to a black MacBook we would get. And if I was picking up one, it would be that color. It looks very good, at least on screen. So I'm interested in to see how it looks in person. So with these new MacBook Airs, they are a significant upgrade. Apple will keep the old M1 MacBook Air in the lineup at that $999 price point, and with these, they're going to be $1,199 at the base model. And I think that $200 should be worth it. I won't get into all of the tech specs here. I'll save that for a later video, but this is a significant upgrade, at least in my opinion. But what is not an upgrade or a significant upgrade and kind of still confusing of why they're doing this, the M2 chip is also coming to the MacBook Pro 13-inch, and unlike the MacBook Air, this is going to stay the same. So no redesign, no new hardware features. You're only getting the M2 chip there, and that's it. Now, a lot of the argument people make of why someone would pick this device is because of the fans. So with the new MacBook Airs, they're going to be fanless just like the ones before them. And with this MacBook Pro 13-inch, you get those fans. So technically you're able, I guess, to utilize the M2 chip more, but I don't see why anyone would buy this. So if you're interested in copping one or know someone who's interested, let me know the reasons in the comment. So that was it for the Mac. Now for kind of the star of the show, or at least what people were anticipating the most, iPadOS 16. Could Apple correct basically the outrage that they faced a year ago with iPadOS 15? And I'm just gonna say yes and no. Now, just to cut to it, Apple has some cool features for all iPads that are able to support iPadOS 16. So we get the weather app. So I'm a big fan of Apple Maps, and I'm also a big fan of the weather app. I just like apps that are like eye candy, and even if I'm not like utilizing them in the moment, just like to look at them. I mean, you can call it weird, but it's whatever. But the weather app is on the iPad now, and it's a very data rich app. So when I have an app on my iPhone that's data rich, so you look at the weather app, and now that it's coming to the iPad, I expect that larger screen and just more data to be able to be utilized, that I'm able to look at it and get more out of the device that I'm using. And seeing them play with the weather app, I think that'll be the case. The animations look really good. Of course, the data is there, and I'm very excited about it. So all the iPads that are able to support iPadOS 16 will get that. And they also introduced a brand new app called Freeform. So it's a collaboration app. So it looks fun and it looks very productive and very rarely do I say that about an app, fun and productive, but that's what this looks like. You can utilize FaceTime with it and be able to work on collaborative projects with other people. So they were showing off a lot of art and presentation projects and making changes with different users in real time. So I'm interested to use that. Now they mentioned that this is coming later this year, so I don't even think this is going to be available on the betas that are being released now and soon for iPadOS 16. So we don't have a firm timeline on that, but later. And now is where a bit of the controversy kicks in, because any feature that I mentioned here on Alpha iPadOS 16 is exclusive to the M1 iPad. So the M1 iPad Pros and the M1 iPad Air. And we get Stage Manager on the iPads. So I mentioned this before for macOS, but it's also coming to the iPad. So you have the ability to have essentially windows on the iPad, and you're able to resize them, reshuffle them, how you feel. Now you only have 4 windows on the iPad, but you can have more with another feature that is coming to iPadOS 16 for the M1 iPads with proper external display support. So now these iPads will support one 6K display, and you're able to see that full ratio. So no more black bars, everything on the screen. And when you're utilizing that Stage Manager and you have that external display, you can have up to 4 apps, as I mentioned, on the iPad and another 4 on the external displays. So overall with the iPad, you can have 8 windows essentially between both of those displays. It's a start. Just looking at it, I haven't used Stage Manager personally, but looking at how they were utilizing it, I still don't think it's what most users are thinking about when they're asking for windows on the iPad. But like I said, it's a start, and I think in the future it could be fleshed out and expanded more for how users are really thinking about the windows on the iPad. And that's it. It sucks that the non-M1 iPads aren't able to use Stage Manager or have that external display support, but Apple is lagging behind in iPad sales. So over the last year or two, iPad sales have been dropping, and that's no excuse to make exclusive features on one set of machines and leaving out the others, because I think those older iPads are capable, or at least having that Stage Manager in some capacity, but that's business and Apple's gonna do what they're gonna do. But at least we're getting some steps, I guess, in the right direction with iPadOS 16. Still no pro level apps, even in like a light version. So some folks thought they were gonna get like maybe like a Final Cut, a Logic, at least in a lighter version form with this operating system. But hey, even with the version of iPadOS 16 that I'll be getting, I'm still excited about it. Now granted, I have a Mac now, so that's probably why I don't care as much. But let me know what you think about all 3 of those operating systems in the comments. What are you excited for from them? And what do you want to see in the future? As always, thanks for watching the video. Catch you on the next one. Be easy and peace.